Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Cindy Parker. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. My pleasure to welcome you this morning. If you are visiting and would like more information about our congregation, please stop at the visitors table in Fellowship Hall, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. I do have a couple of COVID-related announcements. One is that although things are getting better, we still aren't quite ready, other than when speaking in the microphone, to take off our masks. But we are ready, if you care to change our social distancing a little bit. So feel free to pull 3 chairs together or arrange your chairs, sit with your friends. It doesn't have to be, a single row of people. So I think that's a great improvement. Yay. And we are also no longer requiring those of us who are here all the time to do the contact tracing sheets. You may have noticed those weren't there this morning. But if you are new, please let the membership desk know so we can get your information. So should we need to give people a call, we won't leave you out. As we start our worship service, please silence your cell phones. And again, welcome.
And I would extend that welcome to all of you visiting for the first time this morning, a special welcome to you, and also to the folks watching at home, either watching live now or will be watching later. I would love it if folks would just turn around and wave to the camera so that folks at home know that they are with us too. Our chalice lighting words are by Melanie Davis. If ever there were a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice.
Me again. So, pretty obvious if anyone saw the beautiful poster made by Joanne Allen in the Fellowship Hall, that this is the first week of our stewardship campaign, our pledge drive. Before I continue, I would like to thank the rest of the team, Jane Danielson, Penny Elwell, Carol Gillespie, Joanne for artwork, and Bill Kunitz, who's our videographer, said that right. A very wonderful group. Our theme this year is deepening our roots, growing our vision. Each week, we'll focus on one member of our staff who provide the critical foundation for the tree we are nourishing. We know some of you haven't had the opportunity to meet everyone on the staff. And these are the people that your pledges will support in a very big way. It is the largest part of our budget every year. So, with the magic of the screens, we're bringing the staff people to you, one each week for the next 4 weeks, upfront and personal. And if you didn't get pledge information in the mail this week, which most of you should have, but if you are not on our mailing list or for some reason didn't get it, the table in the Fellowship Hall has the same information, or you could ask me about it. So, with no further ado, today is Nell's turn. Now, Nell isn't unknown to all of you sitting here, but maybe you haven't had a chance to talk with her. So today you're going to get that opportunity to at least listen in on a conversation. Thank you.
So now this is great to have this chance to talk to you this way. I noticed every Sunday there are a lot of people gathering around the piano after the service and wanting to talk to you, but not everybody can get a chance to do that. So here we are, and this is a way for people to get to know you a little bit. So one question I had about you and being a musician is, when did you first realize that you wanted to be a professional musician?
Well, when I was very little, ever since age 5, whenever there was a house with a piano, I would just go to the piano and I wouldn't interact with everyone else. I'd just go play piano. And I begged my mother for lessons for a very long time, but she didn't want me to have lessons until she knew that I was going to practice and be committed. So I took lessons starting at age 10 up until age 25. And I think it was around my teenage years, I went to a piano camp called the International Piano Festival. It was at the Portland Conservatory of Music. And I met students from all over the world, Russia, Ukraine, Japan, who all came to this summer camp, and they were very talented. And they inspired me to up the practice. And then I decided I wanted to study music in college, so I got my undergrad and master's in piano performance. And all throughout my childhood, I sang in church choirs, and I took organ lessons at one point. And I knew that I liked the community, working with choirs, and the special bond that develops when you meet every week and sing together.
Another thing, a silly thing I was wondering about, how it feels for you after you finish a piece and you look out at the congregation and they're all waving their hands.
Well, it's kind of like jazz hands almost. I kind of wonder where that came from originally. But what I notice is I put in the practice all week long, and I do get nervous for sure before I play in church. And I try to channel that nervous energy into just like an awareness of the music and the spiritual experience. And when I see everyone wave, it just kind of reinforces that what I do contributes to everyone's experience each Sunday of spirituality and finding beauty in the world, finding calm, a sense of peace. And
I know you, well, most of us know you were here several years ago as accompanist. And then these years passed, and then this new job appeared. How are you feeling about UUCB?
I'm loving it. I love the freedom and creativity to just delve into any topic really that has to do with spirituality, beauty, seeking truth, just being open to all sorts of experiences and ideas, and yeah, just the freedom of expression. And it's a beautiful space. I love how it's designed to be environmentally friendly and sustainable. The stained glass windows, the architecture, and the ideas behind the church. It's the openness to all ideas, exploring all different spiritualities, trying to help those who are oppressed, and the lack of sin and shame, just to be up to date, up to the times, and I don't know, just make the world a better place and be open and inclusive to all.
Thank you very much, Nell.
Thank you.
See you next Sunday.
See you next Sunday.
Our opening words are from the book of Luke, chapter 21, verses 1 through 4. And he looked up and saw the rich putting their gifts into the treasury. And he saw also a certain poor widow putting in 2 mites. So he said, "Truly I say to you that this poor widow has put in more than all. For all these out of their abundance have put in offerings for God. But she, out of her poverty, put in all the livelihood that she had."
Thank you, Jane. And now let us sing together our opening song, hymn number 346. Come sing a song with me. Let us rise in body or spirit.
Oh Hello and good morning. My name is Tobin and I serve as your Director of Religious Exploration. For today's Time for All Ages story, I came up with a tale about kindness, courage, and generosity. I like to call it Friends Who Share. Now, the main character of this story is a muskrat named Merlin. One of the things you need to know about Merlin the muskrat is that he lives in the marsh, and he eats the plants and the roots that grow in the marsh. Now, muskrats are not animals who hibernate, so they don't store a whole bunch of food in their homes. So each day, Merlin would go out and hunt for his food for himself and for his family. Now, he woke up one day and looked around him and realized that the entire marsh was frozen solid. He went out and looked high and looked low, and anywhere he looked, empty. There were no roots for him to pick for him and his family. There was nothing at all for him to eat. So he ran home to his wife Mason and said, I don't know what to do. And Mason said, I have an idea. Don't you have a cousin named Weber the Beaver who lives not too far from here? Maybe he could help you out. That is a great idea, Merlin said, and he headed off down the forest just a couple of acres away where his cousin Weber the Beaver lived. Now, Weber the Beaver was fast asleep when he heard the knock on the door. So he opened up his door and he said, Good morning. What are you doing here? And his cousin told him all about what had happened and what his predicament was. Now, Weber looked around and he said, I've stored some things, but unfortunately, cousin, I need to hang on to some of those because I also have to get through this winter. But I have an idea. What I can do is give you this little bit of watercress that I have, and I don't think that's enough for you and your family to eat until the pond unfreezes, but I know who we can go to. So Merlin and Weber went a couple of trees down where they found Prudence Possum hanging upside down. Prudence, this is my cousin, Merlin, said Weber. Now, we need to get him some food because he and his family have no food. Well, said Prudence. I have some dandelion greens, but I can't give you all of them because I need some for myself if I'm going to get through the winter. Now, Merlin was so grateful. He said, I will take whatever you have. Thank you so much. And now, Merlin had the dandelion greens and the watercress that his cousin had given him. This is great, but it isn't going to be enough. I know, said Weber. We can go to my other friend's house. So off they went down to another tree where they found Scout the Screech Owl. And they told him what the issue was, and Scout said, well, I have some worms. Do muskrats eat worms? And even though worms were not exactly Merlin's favorite food, he couldn't be choosy, so he said, yes, please. Merlin took a look at his pile of watercress and dandelion greens and now worms, but it wasn't quite enough to get him and his family through until the marsh thawed. That's okay, Weber said. I have an idea. We can go see my friend. He lives down here at the lake. So the two of them headed off towards the lake where they found Grayson the goose. They explained to Grayson the kind of predicament that Merlin was in, and Grayson looked around and he said, well, I've got some kale. I don't have a lot of it. I mean, I need some for me, but if I give you just a little bit of kale, will that help you get through? And again, Merlin was so grateful of the generosity of these new friends that he was making that he said, thank you so much. And he took just a little bit of kale that he got and he added it to his watercress and his dandelion greens and his worms. And he started to notice that his pile was almost good enough, but he just needed a little bit more. I have an idea, said Weber the Beaver. We can go see my other friend. So off they went until they came to a cave in the woods. When they reached the cave, a large bear named Bowie the bear came out and greeted them. Weber told Bowie what was going on and what kind of help Merlin needed. Bowie looked around at his stores and he thought for a minute. I don't have a ton of clover, and I need a lot of it to get through the winter because I'm really big, I'm a bear, and I eat a lot, but I can give you this little bit if you think it will help, and I'm happy to. Of course, Merlin said, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Merlin looked down at his watercress and his dandelion greens, his kale, his worms, and his clovers. And he said to Weber the beaver, this is exactly enough to get me through until the marsh thaws. And I want you to know, Weber, that you are the best cousin, and I could not have gotten through this without your help and without the generosity of you and your friends.
Well, like the wonderful beings in Tobin's story, we also share what we have. Every week we share half of our offering plate with a charity with soul. This month, the Charity with Soul is the Immigrant Legal Advocacy Project, and you can read about the important work that they do in the insert in your order of service. I offer these words from the Buddha. Giving brings happiness at every stage of its expression. We experience joy in forming the intention to be generous. We experience joy in the actual act of giving something. And we experience joy in remembering the fact that we have given. The morning offering will now be gratefully received. And now let us say together our congregational response. May these offerings sustain and grow the work of this church, weaving a tapestry of love and action.
Good morning, I'm Julie Dahmer, a member of the pastoral care team. This morning, someone writes, blue sky is a source of joy this morning. Agreed. Under concerns, Marianne Gessner asked for prayers and healing thoughts for a speedy recovery from knee replacement surgery on Tuesday, the 15th. And Sienna writes, Mother Nature sometimes has a warped sense of humor. Joke's on us. Spring forward, but hold on, winter's not over. If you're not attending in-person services and would like us to read something on Sunday morning and write something in the book for you, you can send an email to uucbjoysandsorrows@gmail.com. The address is up on the screen and in the weekly email. If you have a concern you'd like to discuss in private, please speak with a pastoral care associate. We have light blue ribbons on our name tags and would be happy to listen and help.
Let us sing together, Ubi Caritas. The choir will lead us the first time through. The words are Ubi Caritas et amor, Ubi Caritas Deus ibi est. That's Latin. The words mean that where there is charity and love, there will God be. Ubi Caritas et amor, Ubi Caritas Deus ibi est. Ubi Caritas et amor, Ubi Caritas Deus ibi est. Ubi Caritas et amor, Ubi Caritas Deus ibi
Our reading is from the book of John, chapter 2, verses 14 through 16. In the temple, he found people selling cattle, sheep, doves, and the money changers seated at their tables. Making a whip of cords, he drove all of them out of the temple, both the sheep and the cattle. He also poured out the coins of money changers and overturned their tables. He told those who were selling the doves, "Take these things out of here. Stop making my Father's house a marketplace."
Really pulling out all the stops today, huh? And boy, Penny, you read the heck out of that. That story from the Bible of Jesus overturning the tables in the temple, the tables of the money changers. You probably saw that in the movie version of Jesus Christ Superstar, right? It is probably be responsible more than anything else for our discomfort about talking about money, especially in church, right? Jesus overturned the tables in the temple. You shouldn't talk about money, it's dirty. Well, friends, Jesus was angry. He was angry because people were enriching themselves in the temple, right? Selling stuff to enrich themselves. And the money changers were the worst. They were charging exorbitant fees. And so Jesus' rage was about deceit and greed and taking advantage of those who had less. He wasn't upset because people were selling cookbooks to raise money for the temple. So let's just put that aside. But really, in this American culture especially, maybe in other countries as well, we're uncomfortable talking about money, right? And, we have this idea from the Puritans, the Calvinist idea that those who had God's favor would receive bounty, right? So if you were rich, it was because God loved you best. Well, what if somebody was richer than me? Did that mean God loved them more? So maybe the best way to avoid that uncomfortable feeling is to just not talk about it, right? Let's not let anyone else know how much we have. I went to a workshop for people doing stewardship, and the presenter stood up and he said, okay, we're going to get started, but just before we do, would you just turn to your neighbor and just tell each other what you made last year? That's just what happened. First it was like a gasp, and then some nervous laughter, right? We don't do that. We don't turn to our neighbor and say what we make, and I'm not suggesting that we do that, but it kind of speaks to that discomfort we have about talking about money. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because in this day and age, money is the way that we're paid for our labor with wages. We buy stuff with money. We don't trade chickens or eggs or, barter. But in ancient times, people would bring their finest offerings to the altar, right? The finest livestock, the first fruit, the best of what they had, believing that it would be pleasing to God, and understanding that sharing from what we have would benefit all of us, and so each of us, right? And so I would benefit from what I share because you benefit, and I benefit from what you offer. But somehow when money got in the mix, we felt like we were supposed to hold on to it and not let anyone see what we have. So that's the situation that we're in now. And in this stewardship drive, you got the materials from Cindy Parker, our treasurer, and you know that we have kind of a lift, right, this year. We've had some expenses. Certainly the pandemic was unforeseen, and it meant that we couldn't do any fundraising for the last 2 years, so that certainly has impacted our bottom line. And in order to have this technology that allows us to share the services during that whole year that we were closed, our offices and our building was closed, we did not miss a single worship service because of all this technology. But it costs money, right? It costs money to get people to train us and to make it happen and to buy the equipment. So we've had some big expenses this year. Also, you're in search, which is expensive, right? The search committee gathers. They look at the many, many people that wanted to come here, and they narrowed it down to the finalists. And now they are bringing each of those people here. So that costs money, right? Having them travel here, putting them up, feeding them. So that's money that's being spent as we speak on bringing you the very best minister who's going to help you move into your bright future. And in the coming year, your new minister will move here, and that's a big expense, right? Anyone moved recently? So that's something that we have to budget for in the coming year. So that makes this pledge drive a bit of a lift and very important, because we want to be able to call up that new minister and say, we met our goal, we're on track, we can afford to bring you here and to have this bright future together. So I want to tell you, I actually have 3 goals for this pledge drive. The first one is that everyone participate. Every member, every serious friend, I'll come back to that. Now, certainly as members, we know that when you become a member, you agree to make a pledge every year. And now we know things happen. If something happens in your life and you just can't make a pledge, let us know and you'll get a waiver. So that counts as participating. So making a pledge or arranging to have a waiver. So that's an expectation for all members. But I also want to talk to the friends, people that have been coming here for a while, that really feel like you have found your people, but you haven't yet officially joined. I would invite you also to participate to the extent that you feel called to do so and are able to do so. And I want to tell you a story. When Dale and I started going to a UU church together, we went to our UU church in Northborough for the first time together on Christmas Eve, 1996. I had been going to Boston to the Arlington Street Church, thinking that for some reason that was the only one that was like hip and cool. So I was driving 30 miles every Sunday to go to church. And Dale was not interested. But something happened around Christmas time and she said, hey, I think we should go to church on Christmas Eve. So we decided to check out our local church. And we loved it. And what was wonderful is we both loved it. We loved the music, the silent night with the candles. Nothing offended us. Amen? And the people welcomed us fully as a couple, as a family. So that was Christmas Eve, and then we came back the next Sunday, and the next Sunday after that, and the next Sunday after that, and then pretty soon I joined the choir, and we never missed a Sunday. Now it's March, and it's the pledge drive. No one asked us to pledge. We had not missed a Sunday in however many, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. No one asked us to pledge. We went up to people. How do we make a pledge? Oh, somebody will get back to you. 2, 3, 4 times we asked. I don't know. People don't usually work this hard, right, to give their money away. But we wanted to be part of it. So finally we asked somebody that we thought would know. And they said, oh yeah, talk to Brian. I don't see Brian, but he's kind of tall and kind of quiet. I'm sorry, but that was not enough to distinguish Brian for us. But finally, we succeeded. And then we said, how much should we give? Oh, we can't tell you how much to give. They had no guidance for us. So we, sat down and came up with a number, and it was like the most money we'd ever given any single entity. And it felt really good. So that gets to my second goal. So goal number 1 is that everyone participate at the level that you can. And goal number 2 is that you give a gift that makes your heart glad. If everyone participates and gives a gift that makes our heart glad, we will have enough. So that's my wish. Everyone participate, give a gift that makes your heart glad. Imagine, many of you are gardeners and many of you sew and bake and paint and do all kinds of things. Imagine that there's remember when we used to have like church picnics and potlucks and things? Imagine that you have grown these beautiful tomatoes and you bring them forth and you offer them to the church for their potluck. Right? You feel so proud of these beautiful, ripe, red tomatoes that you have grown with your own hands. Well, didn't you earn that money through your labor and with your own hands? What if you felt just as much joy at putting a check in the offering plate or filling out that card as you would when you bring forth that basket of tomatoes and basil and apple pie? So that's what I want. A gift that makes your heart glad, that you can't wait till they open that envelope with your pledge in it. That's what I want people to feel. And then goal number 3. Are you all sitting down? This is the big one. People at home, are you sitting down? If you have coffee in your mouth, I suggest that you swallow it before I say this next thing so that you don't spray your screen. Can you believe I just said that in church? I love what Nell had to offer, but that's going to go on your list of things that it's okay to say in church, right? Okay, here we go. Goal number 3. I want this done by the end of March. Let's get this done. On Sunday, April 3rd, we're going to declare victory and show the beautiful tree. Joanne Allen, are you here? That beautiful tree that we can show the leaves. As you walk out, you'll see this gorgeous poster that she made where we can glue on our leaves that show our progress in meeting our goal of full participation, right? Because that's what we're going for. Everybody giving. So let's get it done. How many of you get your taxes done like in February? And how many of you know which post office is open till midnight on the 15th? Just in case. So I'm talking to you people. Don't do that with this, please. You know you're going to give. You know you're going to. Don't make us chase you down. And it's not because it's more work. I mean, it's more work. It's not that. It's that we're all a little anxious, right? This pandemic has us all a little bit anxious. We're worried about the money. Your finance committee has been meeting to work out the numbers. We've come up with a stewardship goal. A lot is riding on this. We know you're going to give. We know we're going to get there. But the sooner we get there, the sooner we can move on and celebrate the new minister that's coming, right? Won't it be wonderful when we make that offer to them and we can say, and we met our pledge drive. So are you with me? Wouldn't it be wonderful to have this done? Yes. And why do any of it? Why do any of it? Why have these goals? Why have this pledge drive? So look around this room. Look around the people here. And when you have a second, look again at the camera so that they can see you too and you can imagine the people watching. You love each other. Think about the important moments in your life over recent years, decades. Some of you have been part of this congregation. The births and the deaths, the illness, the recoveries, the triumphs, the graduations, the engagements, the grandchildren. And aren't these the people that you have shared those moments with? Right? These are your people. So, number one, we want this amazing congregation to exist for all of you so that you can continue to be in each other's lives and share these important moments. And that counts. Being a community together is an absolutely vital part of who you are. And you're more than that, right? You reach out, you share your offering plate every week with Charities with Soul. And I don't have to tell you, but I will, out in the world, there is devastation. I mean, my goodness, Putin is bombing babies and children. And former and current elected officials in this country have said that he is brilliant, genius. We have to stand against that. There needs to be a liberal faith, a liberal community of faith that will stand against that kind of glorification of war and autocratic leanings that are, my goodness, growing in this country, right? We have to show the world that we haven't all lost our minds, right? That we still stand for the ideals that this country was founded on, right? That we're supposed to share what we have. And we mean it. The world needs, you need each other, and the world needs you. In Texas, in Mississippi, in Missouri, they're trying to take away women's access to reproductive care. In Missouri, they want to make it illegal to leave the state to have an abortion and turn neighbor against neighbor, right? We have to stand against that. And somewhere out there, there is a gay child or a trans child who feels alone and unloved and unlovable. And if they could but find their way here, I know that you would welcome them with open arms as they are. So you are needed. This is not extra. This is vital. This is essential. So I'm asking you, join with each other and make the world sane again. Make the world more loving, more just, more available to those who share our values. That is my prayer for us all and my request of you. So now, are we ready to sing? And are you with me? Let us sing together our closing hymn. The words were written by Mary Lou Stalker, Sylvia's mom. The music by our own Grace Lewis McLaren. Our church is more than framework. Let us sing together with gusto, and if you would rise in body or spirit to sing our closing hymn, that would be wonderful. Our closing words are from Choose to Bless the World by Rebecca Parker. Your gifts, whatever you discover them to be, can be used to bless or curse the world.
The mind's power, the strength of hands, the reaches of the heart, the gift of speaking, listening, imagining, seeing, waiting.
Any of these can serve to feed the hungry, bind up wounds, welcome the stranger, praise what is sacred, do the work of justice, or offer love.
And any of these can draw down the prison door, hoard bread, abandon the poor, obscure what is holy, comply with injustice, or withhold love.
You must answer this question. What will you do with your gifts? Choose to bless the world. May it be so. Amen. Let's stay seated through the postlude, and then let us greet our neighbors and go out and be a blessing to the world.